Hello and welcome to your first model writing lesson where I'll run through a complete answer for IELTS General Task 1, which will be, for this lesson, a formal letter. So I'll do a complete run through, we'll look at the question, highlight key information, think about some strategies and ideas, create a plan, and then you'll see me structure a full answer live. Band score 9. I know students do really love these lessons and I know they're super useful for you too, as you'll see me really coming up with language and showing lots of strategies and tips live at the time of writing. So I suggest you watch these videos multiple times, read through the scripts, listen to me as I create these answers, and I know that it's going to really help you with your own writing too. So let's jump in to take a look at the question. Write a letter to the manager of a company which is based in a foreign country to recommend your family member for a suitable job. In your letter, introduce yourself and say what you are doing. That's me, what I'm doing. Describe the role your family member is interested in. Explain why he or she is suitable for the job. Okay, nice bit of information for the bullet points. Let's take a look at the question statement at the top first. We'll underline some key information. So we're writing a letter to the manager of a company. This is who, indicating who I'm writing to. Manager of a company is going to be a formal letter, which is based in a foreign country. Now, I underlined this. I don't think it's like super important within the question statement, but maybe if I mention something about this in my writing also, that might be useful, as then the examiner can see that I've really carefully read the question. So if I maybe mention that, that's great, although I don't think it's super important. The next part underlined is very important. Recommend your family member for a suitable job. That's telling me the purpose of the letter. I'm recommending my family member for a suitable job. Who? I'm writing to a manager of a company, so very formal, and the letter type is recommending. Okay, let's take a look at those bullet points. Introduce yourself, BP1, introduce yourself. So that's my first paragraph. I'll talk about me, say who I am, and also say what I am doing. BP1, P1. So that's the first paragraph. BP2, describe the role your family member is interested in. So in my second paragraph, I'll be talking about what kind of job I'm recommending my brother, I think I'll go for. What I'm recommending him for. BP3, explain why he or she is suitable for the job. So I'm kind of there in that third paragraph be talking about why they'd be a great addition to the company and matching the skills with the job. Now, this is going to take a bit of creativity, this question here. I'm going to make up a company, maybe an IT company, something like that. And I'm also going to have to be a little bit creative in my thinking for, my brother, what skills he might have. My brother isn't actually going to be, I'm not talking about my real brother, although I do have one. I'm imagining someone else. So I'm going to have to use my imagination a little bit and add a little bit of creativity. But once you've done a few of them, it's quite easy to do so. Okay, that's the question. I think what we should do now is take a look at the plan. So, plan, let's take a look. It's formal, as we have said, as we're writing to the manager of a company. And the letter type really is recommending, kind of applying as well. I'm applying for my brother, so it's like a mix. But mostly the letter type is recommendation or recommending. Okay, BP1, bullet point 1. Introduce yourself, say what you are doing. P1 in my plan. Short intro, so just talk about myself. And also I'll say I work in IT. So this imaginary company that I'm writing to, I'm going to make an IT company. No reason, I just decided that would be easy for my letter. Why not? So in the introduction, to link them a bit together, I'm going to say I work in IT too. My name's David. Describe myself a little bit. Maybe say that I really like the sound of the company I'm writing to. Say, I also work in IT. However, my brother really wants to work for you. Something like that. That's a very quick sort of bit of language there. Let's look at BP2. Describe the role your family member is interested in. Okay, so P2. I'm going to say my brother, I think it'll be for, is interested in IT development. And maybe I can go into a bit more detail about this. It might be IT development. It could be app development in this company. Could be something along those lines. And I'll talk about it just a little bit more to describe the role. And I'll also say design work. Maybe I could say why they are interested in the role as well. I've seen your company's design work as passed on to me from my brother, and he absolutely loved it. He also has great skills. But that would be saved for, talking about skills, paragraph 3. So BP3, explain why he or she is suitable for the job. I'll stick to my brother, I think, and I'll say why he is suitable for the job. P3, matches current role. So what I'm thinking is I'll say that I actually saw a job advertisement for IT developer and designer. So has it that my brother is a fantastic designer and IT project worker, or something of those lines. What I'll also say is personal qualities. So I'll generally talk about the fact that he's a great team player, fantastic community, blah, 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 blah. I can continue for a long time about that. So that's my plan. Of course, bullet points tell me what to write in each of the 3 paragraphs. Now, just a quick word again on these plans. Do make sure that you're writing them super short, just like I've shown you here. No need for long sentences. You want to finish these within a minute of getting your question. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started with our writing. Okay, as previously stated, the initial salutation will pretty much always be given to you, but I'm just going to write my own in for the purpose of these modelled writing lessons. And for this, I'm just going to put Dear Sirs. Dear Sirs or Madam would be maybe better, but I think just Dear Sirs is fine. That's perfectly okay. So, first thing we want to do is to write our introductory sentence, or possibly 2 sentences. I tend to write 2 sentences for this, though sometimes I also just write 1. And basically, I'm going to set the tone and identify the purpose. So I'll do 2 sentences for this, so you can see a really common way to open your letter. And the first sentence will be to set tone. I hope this letter finds you well. Okay, so that's a really common way to open a letter in a formal setting. I hope this letter finds you well. I hope you're doing well would be more informal, but as this is a formal letter, I hope this letter finds you well. Okay, so that's setting tone with the first sentence. The second sentence, I can identify the purpose, which of course, as the question states, is recommending. I am writing to you today to recommend my brother for a role at your company. Okay, super straightforward. There's not so much to say about this, but again, you could simply just go straight in with this purpose sentence, so identifying the letter type. This really signals that these 2 sentences, other than just introducing your writing, very much signal to the IELTS examiner that, right, they understand tone, and the student also understands the purpose of the letter. So they've really read the question well. So I do like these 2 sentence introductions, although sometimes I just do 1. But there you go. There's not too much to say about that. As always, really important to read things back as you're writing, and also at the end if you have time. I hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing to you today. Notice no contraction. I am, formal letter. I am writing to you today to recommend my brother for a role at your company. Okay, let's move on to BP1, which is introduce yourself and say what you are doing. My plan is short intro. I work in an IT company, same as this made-up imaginary company I'm writing to. So let's introduce myself. I would first like to introduce myself. My name is David, and I live with my family in Peru. Let's just go for Peru. Just randomly thought of Peru for no particular reason. I might just say that I'm kind of thinking about saying I'm in Peru because the question did say it's a foreign company. So I would like to maybe just mention that. It's not really that important, but it's an extra detail I could add. My name is David and I live with my family in Peru. And I'm kind of saying I live with my family because that might be an easier way to start talking about my brother. Okay, so I'm doing a short introduction about myself. My name is David. I live with my family in Peru. Now I was just going to start with and just talk about my work experience. I have worked in IT or design or whatever I'm going to say for blah, blah, blah. But I want to avoid starting too many sentences with I. So instead of I have worked for 20 years or however long, I'm going to start with for the last 20 years, I have worked within technology and let's say design companies and have thoroughly enjoyed the experience. So I'm not giving too much detail, but the BP1 does say introduce yourself and say what you're doing. So, I'm not going to go too deep into this. I'm not going to write half of the page about myself, but I am going to sort of introduce myself a bit. Now, maybe good time to read back. My name is David and I live with my family in Peru. For the last 20 years, I have worked within technology and design companies. Within the I'm going to change this, within the technology and design industry. So you can just see there that I'm editing as I write, and design industry, and have thoroughly enjoyed the experience. Okay, so I've given myself a short introduction. I'm now going to just say, if I look back to my plan P1, that actually the industry I work in IT, it's the same as the company I'm writing to. I have known about your business for quite some time and very much, editing as we go, and very much respect all the work you do within the IT sector. Okay. I'm still, on point. If I look at BP1, introduce myself, say what I'm doing. I've introduced myself. I said what I'm doing. I know about the business. I'm introducing that I understand this imaginary business I'm writing to, and I respect what the work they do within the IT sector, which is similar to what I am saying I do as well. Okay. This is probably, normally I might just add an extra sentence to these types of paragraphs, paragraph 1, paragraph 2 and 3, maybe just make it a tiny bit longer, but I think I've covered all the information I need to cover for this particular bullet point. Don't try and force too much information that really isn't necessary to answer the question. Thinking back to the band descriptors, we need to stay on point in order to get the task achievement band descriptor as high as possible. So I think I've done a good job there of introducing myself. Time to move on to BP2, which I can maybe talk about in a bit more detail to make sure I'm hitting that word count of 170, 180 words or more. Ideally, it's around that, but you've got to get over 150. So I aim for normally about 180 to around 210 or 20. Okay, BP2, describe the role your family member is interested in. And I will say in my plan, IT development and design work. So I'll maybe go into a bit more detail about that. And let me just look ahead to BP3 to make sure I'm not going to mix them up. BP3 is explain why they're suitable, why my brother is suitable. So I'm not going to go into why my brother is good for this company. I'm just going to stick to describing the role my family member is interested in, which is in IT development and design work. Only stick to that. Just shows you there that it's good to reread the bullet points to make sure that we're staying on point and the structure will be very clear. Okay, so I'm going to say in the last 2 weeks, I have seen some job advertisements on your company website for IT development and design roles. In the last 2 weeks, I have seen some job advertisements. I have seen some, sounds a bit too relaxed, I have seen a few job advertisements on your company website for IT development and design roles. I was highly impressed with the job specification. So, really impressed, bit informal, semi-formal, highly impressed. That's just an example of leveling up our language to be more formal. I was highly impressed with the job specification I saw. And for this reason, now I want to say that I showed it to my brother and he was interested. This question's actually a little bit tricky in terms of angling it for my brother's application and recommendation. If it was just myself applying, it'd probably be a little bit easier. But this is a slightly trickier question, but I'm still enjoying it. I was highly impressed with the job specification I saw, and for this reason, I presented more formal, I presented the information to my brother, who is highly skilled in these types of positions. So I'm not going to explain why he's suitable now. That's for BP3. I'm just saying, I'm getting to the point of saying I showed my brother. Okay. So I'm just going to say a little bit more about this role in development and design. I just want to come up with something else to add to this. But first, I'm going to read back through. In the last 2 weeks, I have seen a few job advertisements on your company website for IT development and design roles. I was highly impressed with the job specification I saw, and for this reason, I presented the information to my brother, who is highly skilled in these types of positions. In particular, so I'm just going to talk about the design role. In particular, the design role seemed extremely interesting. I'm just going to say why. Interesting, given the scope of work across branding, marketing, and website design. You can see my use of commas here for lists. In particular, so I've got a nice opener as well. The design role seemed extremely interesting given the scope of work across branding, marketing, and website design. So I just wanted to add a little bit more detail, going back to BP2, describe the role. And I'm just wanting to give a bit more, I've had to think creatively about this. Just wanted to give a bit more detail about what role in particular I thought. Okay, I think that leaves us pretty strong for BP2, for paragraph 2. Let's move on to BP3. Explain why he is suitable for the job. So my plan matches current role. So he's already in a position that is very much similar to this, and also personal qualities. My brother is currently working for a competitor company in a very similar role. Thinking that idea as I typed. My brother is currently working for a competitor company. in a very similar role. Now I want to say why he's suitable. So he's in a similar role. Now I want to maybe show off his skills a little bit. Throughout the past year, he has enjoyed numerous successes and was even awarded Employee of the Month 3 times in a row. Again, just thinking of some more detail to really add my ideas against the bullet point. Let's read this back. So just the bullet point quickly, why he's suitable. My brother is currently working for a competitor company in a very similar role. Makes him quite suitable by the sounds of it to me. Throughout the past year, he has enjoyed numerous successes and was even awarded Employee of the Month 3 times in a row. Small edit there. Okay, so I've said skill-wise, I've kind of said he's doing the same job, he's really successful at it. Now I'm just going to return to my plan and say a bit about his personal qualities. Aside from his professional skills, he is also a highly positive and hard-working member of any team that he works in. Okay, I'm just going to read that back. Aside from his professional skills, he is also a highly positive and hard-working member of any team that he works in. Okay, so I've got that last idea, that personal qualities. I actually think I'm pretty much at the point here of finishing my letter. So what I'll do is quite simply add a sentence here. I hope that I will hear from you soon with more information on how my brother could apply for the position. Okay, just kind of like a finishing sentence here. And as it's yours sincerely, David. Oh, capital letter, of course. Thank you to autocorrect, which of course you don't get during the exam. As it's a formal letter, yours sincerely or just sincerely, and then just your name underneath. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this first formal write for IELTS Task 1 letters. But what I would always suggest you do is to read back. So let's have a quick read through of this one. And if what you would normally do is read through at the end, if you have time, of course, sticking to the 20 minutes. And if there's some small edits to make, then of course you can make them. Dear sirs, I hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing to you today to recommend my brother for a role at your company. I would first like to introduce myself. My name is David and I live with my family in Peru. So I didn't actually say that it's in a foreign country. So that's something that maybe I should add here. In the personal qualities, highly positive and hard. So you know what? I'm going to make a slight change to this. I hope to hear from you soon with more information on, I'm just going to shorten this, on how to apply. Highly positive member of any team that he works in and is prepared to move abroad in order to continue his work. There you go. So, good thing we read back because I've just got that small detail in about that was in the question about a foreign country and I've just added it here. Let's read through everything and if there's edits I need to make, then great. I would like to introduce myself. My name is David and I live with my family in Peru. For the last 20 years, I have worked within the technology and design industry and have thoroughly enjoyed the experience. I have known about your business for quite some time and very much respect all the work you do within the IT sector. In the last 2 weeks, I have seen a few job advertisements on your company website for IT development and design roles. I was highly impressed with the job specification and for this reason, I presented the information to my brother, who is highly skilled in these types of positions. In particular, the design role seemed extremely interesting given the scope of work across branding, marketing, and website design. My brother is currently working for a competitor company in a very similar role. Throughout the past year, he has enjoyed numerous successes and was even awarded Employee of the Month 3 times in a row. Aside from his professional skills, he is also a highly positive and hard-working member of any team. I'm just going to take this out. I think shorter is often better. Member of any team and is prepared to move abroad in order to continue his work. I think that reads well. I hope that I will hear from you soon with more information on how to apply. Yours sincerely, David. Okay, so I think that really does sort of end a really strong IELTS letter from a formal setting. We've really focused clearly on the bullet points and making sure we stick to the answer. This is well structured. We've edited as we were writing and at the end to make sure that we've got our ideas in, and also that our language is accurate and interesting. So I hope that you found that useful. Let's jump into your next model write video.